Welcome to the preview of the layout used for the third Foxtail Farm Championship, presented by Nexus Disc Golf and the Friends of Foxtail. Though change at Foxtail is assured, the tumult of the last year has altered the course more drastically than desired, and has resulted in the loss of hole 10, the second hardest hole on the property. Regardless, tough lies beget opportunity. New pin positions have been added, and new holes created. Though some are temporary, they will no doubt challenge any golfer hoping to become the champion golfer of the year. The Dam presents golfers with their first decision of the round. Play short to the top, risking the slope but gaining a straighter second over the pond, or throw past the Dam and be forced to throw into the sky over the ever-growing black willows in the marshland. Whatever the decision, crisp execution must follow to achieve birdie, or perhaps more importantly, to avoid bogey. The second landing zone plays normal OB rules, meaning players must carry some portion of the inbounds area to advance. A badly executed shot caught in the canopy could spell disaster. But a round at Foxtail Farm isn't a sprint. Even a double or triple bogey on one can be overcome with patience and a short memory. The island hole remains the same in form, though the rules have been slightly tweaked. Everything short of the creek remains safe. Beyond that, throws not finding the island will be played where they lie with a penalty. The hazard amounts to a de jure expansion of the green area, allowing for more interesting and more exciting par saves. Early in the round, this is a birdie players would like to get. Hole 3 is generally the easiest hole at the championship. The picturesque gap, gradually narrowing with the creeping of time, is eminently beatable. Out of bounds right only comes into play on the worst of shots, but OB long looms larger for players whose primary focus is the initial gap and not their shot's pace. Though easy by the standards of Foxtail Farm, there is copious opportunity for errant throws to be penalized and for missed putts to add strokes. The fourth is very rarely played the same way twice. Players with predominant counterclockwise spins may prefer the left, more open fairway, but must test scrubby trees and out of bounds to do so. Others will likely choose the scrambler's gap, straight down the middle. Rollers may have the opportunity to eagle this short par 4. Whatever the decision, all players will have to confront the fast green located at the bottom of the creek basin, and will have to be cautious with their approaches to stay close to the pin and avoid a costly penalty. To excel at Foxtail Farm, a golfer must be able to throw a disc straight. Perhaps no hole at Foxtail Farm better exemplifies that demand than the 5th. At 350 feet, the distance is well within the capability of most who will choose to play golf here. But finishing a disc straight at that distance is uncomfortable for many. The best shot shape here is steeped in the history of our sport. Flat flip, fly straight. The change to the pin position on 6 is almost as subtle as the slope discs must climb to enter the woodline. Last year's pin position changes roles from garden to bunker. Added distance adds difficulty, and ought to produce more bogeys than the previous iteration. The tee shot shapes well for backhands, forehands, rollers, and even for the most powerful golfers to attempt to throw over the danger. Last year, Hole 7 was the 6th easiest hole of the championship, averaging only roughly a third of a stroke over par. To add a little difficulty to the hole and make the green more interesting, the basket on the 7th has been moved back and to the right by about 60 feet. Beyond just the distance gain, golfers must now confront bunkers of trees and logs and a penalizing creek, which surrounds the extremely sloped green. And now the hill. The tee of hole 8 has been moved roughly 250 feet in front of last year's, and the basket has been pushed back another 70. Though almost 200 feet shorter than before, the hill hole is not easier. If anything, the more extremely uphill drive and extended pin will create higher numbers and a better score variance. The further a player tries to advance off the tee, the more they must confront the unforgiving left and right side rough. But longer drives are rewarded with bigger and more attainable late gaps to the pin. The 9th remains largely unchanged, and likely will again be the most difficult hole on the property. Most critically here, a player's drive must assure the opportunity to advance on their second. This par 5 never relents to ease. Each shot is demanding. Each shot must be performed with confidence and skill. Birdie is attainable if golfers can execute 3 great shots, but anything less, and bogey or worse await. Though the 9th can be beaten, more often it must be survived. This hole 10 is a stopgap to be played until such time as a new par 5 can be cut in. Though temporary, it has teeth. It requires a particular type of punching drive that pushes straight for 290 feet, then dives hard right. A subtle mound early and more obvious canopy late forces players to exactly control their height as the corridor gap narrows down the fairway. Clean drives can net birdies, but drives that miss poorly will fall early and bring bogey or worse into play. The feeling of respite on 11 is somewhat diminished by the loss of the former hole 10. Now the fairway seems tighter, more demanding, more precise. The rough on either side of the fairway, though somewhat tamed by time and intention, almost guarantees bogey to those unfortunate enough to have to scramble from within it. Birdies, though not infrequent, are well earned on respite. Though only 326 feet, this hole is far from a must-get. 12's fairway winds this way and that, snaking through the forest like a big grapevine. At most, players generally reach for a mid-range, aiming to carve the hole into 2 250-foot shots, each of which is exceedingly touchy. The basket is moved about 60 feet back from its position at the second championship, making it much more challenging to birdie, and even more daunting to have to scramble for par. The loss of hole 10 has created an opportunity for an even more challenging spider hole. A 330-foot corridor perfectly frames the pin and makes the demand clear. Anything less than perfection will require players to scramble, testing both their fortitude and creativity. The spider tree requires ideal placement. The biggest gaps are short and left, while beyond and right are 9 dead zones. Of all the memorable greens at Foxtail Farm, Spider, whether loved or cursed, is the most formidable. Precipice is the shortest hole of the championship at only 200 feet, and while it generally ranks as one of the easier holes, it is still capable of producing big numbers and exciting results. Even routine putts have added stress due to the pin's placement and the near guarantee that misses will force players to scramble below it and make an extremely uphill comeback. And when the wind is up and from the south, a layup's prudence can be undeniable. Late in the round, aggression on this hole can derail a good round, but may be required for golfers chasing a title. From atop the plateau to the hayfield below, the 15th is inevitable. At some point in the round, after summiting the hill, we must throw down. The challenge created by this inevitability lies primarily in nose angle control. To throw a disc that far down and to stop it at the correct point requires matching the slope. Golfers missing their line slightly could leave a dangerously fast approach to try to save their par. Hole 16 is another stopgap casualty of the loss of 10. Eventually another hole will be cut somewhere in the woods, and this hole will be relegated to an alternate layout. For now, it's big and open and inviting, and completely different from the golf players have been navigating for at least the last hour. This is a links-style hole whose difficulty will be dictated by the wind and fate. The penultimate hole of the championship is an eagleable par 5. The tall grass left is out of bounds, forcing players who want flatter footing on their second to carry it and risk penalty, or to content themselves to a lie on the extreme side slope. The woods on either side of the upper hayfield are safe, but function as a natural out of bounds, limiting advancement on second, third, and fourth shots. Though on the softer side of a par 5, hole 17 splits well, creating score variation, especially due to its side hill lies and the wind tunnel effect of the tree line. The only remaining original hole from the earliest iterations of Foxtail Farm, hole 18 is the course's foundation. Players must carry the fallow field on their first and have their disc come to rest in the short grass. The further one can push the out-of-bounds post line, the more achievable the birdie. Cantilevered out over the abysmal slope, the basket on the 18th demands determination. Those who are unconfident ought lay up. But for those who would become champions, the precarity of the 18th affords them one final opportunity for glory. Thank you for viewing this preview of the layout used for the 3rd Foxtail Farm Championship, presented by Nexus Disc Golf and the Friends of Foxtail. This year's event will be held October 11th and 12th. If you're interested in competing to become the champion golfer of the year at Foxtail Farm, registration is available on Disc Golf Scene. If you'd like to schedule a reservation to play, get a group together and reach out. Details can be found on UDisc.